everybody, welcome back to the GameDev Breakdown podcast. My name is Todd Mitchell. If you're watching, up there is John Schreiber, or if you're listening, my buddy John Schreiber is with us. How you doing, John?
Fantastic. It's cold, but we're making it.
It is so cold. It is
5 degrees.
5 degrees right now, and we had to go out to the stores and such. It was about 11 degrees. So just total nightmare of winter hell outside.
It's crazy because 2 weeks ago it was 50 degrees.
Yeah, we were in khaki shorts like we talked about.
It's crazy.
Yeah. How's everything else? You said you haven't had much time to play games this last week.
No, the tail end of the holiday season here has kind of kept me pretty busy preparing for the show like we discussed in the last podcast too, at the venue with the brand new toilet. At least the toilet was new. Surprisingly, I still would not sit on the toilet even if you paid me, even knowing that it was new. And the show was great.
Good.
Very eclectic group of people.
Okay.
I saw cat ears, fake blood, hipster corduroy outfits, and Carhartt jackets and Ford hats.
The St. Louis area is so magical because it's like that. You got metalheads and you got people who wouldn't look out of place at Edward Jones. You name it, and you go outside and there's a homeless guy chasing you around the parking lot, and it's just, it goes on and on.
It's so bizarre. I don't particularly like the area near that venue. The club owner is a really nice guy. The door guy is nice and everything like that. But yeah, just not a fan of that area downtown St. Louis. It's kind of near Pappy's Smokehouse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It gets real shifty at night. But anyways, that's enough of that.
We used to live downtown, man. I know how it goes.
It's weird. It's like a switch gets flipped. I would recommend people hang out in St. Louis, get some of the delicious food. Anyways.
Yeah, that's the regional scoop for this week.
Yeah, I like St. Louis. It's fun to do stuff like that. But man, at night, like a hateful switch gets flipped.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I'm with you. No, man. Speaking of crime, we are going to have such a downer of a show. I'm just going to say it right now. The gaming news has all been terrible for like the last week. Since we left off, we had Christmas. It was lovely. Everyone was happy, and then everyone lost their goddamn minds.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So I think we have to just start with the real heavy stuff first. There has been a noteworthy swatting incident where police shot and killed a guy. And I don't know how up to date you are on this story, but we're going to basically talk about it top to bottom as quickly and efficiently as we can, because obviously it's not game development news, but it's certainly gaming news, and it's all anyone is talking about right now.
I had no idea that somebody died, because just a week that I've had been pretty busy and out of the loop on gaming. So this is news to me, and I'm interested to get into it. What's going on?
Okay, so here is the situation. Polygon reported this. I don't know who reported it first. Polygon has an article about it that I'm showing on screen right now. The situation is that Call of Duty World War II, there have been tournaments going on run by a site called UMG Gaming. And I don't know much about this organization or what they do, but apparently they have money tournaments that you can play. And we're talking like, this was over a match that was worth like $1.50 or something. I've got the page for this, which I can show you, but it just shows the roster of these teams. The losing team, 2 of the members on the same team got into an argument and things got super heated, and somebody threatened to SWAT somebody else. I've actually got gamer tags here. Apparently, a player called Miracle and a player called Vaporizer start this giant argument. And this Vaporizer guy says, "Oh, I'm gonna have you swatted. You know, here I come." And swatting, for anybody who doesn't know, this is a thing that, for unknown reasons, emerged in gaming, where people started calling police, usually by spoofing their phone number to make it look like they're calling from a player's location, and telling the 911 dispatcher something that makes them send police to the person's house and basically drag them out of the house. It became popular when streamers started getting popular. So if you're on Twitch or YouTube and doing your thing, somebody can basically call the police to your house. It's hard to catch people if they do it a certain way. So in this story, This guy named Miracle, or who calls himself Miracle, he pisses off this vaporizer guy. This vaporizer guy calls a third guy who calls himself Swatistic, which is a combination of the word SWAT and the word autistic. So that's a bad start. And this
Weaponized autism.
According to his own account, yes.
Yeah.
So the situation is that this guy goes, oh, here's a challenge. It turns out this guy is apparently a professional swatter. People pay him money, and he has SWAT teams sent to people's homes to have them dragged out and stuff. He's, by his own account, called in bomb threats to like MLG tournaments and stuff. And he just calls it evacuating. Like, I'm going to get you evacuated, bro. This story gets a little confusing and a little weird at this point. So the guy who calls this professional swatter, he's pissed off at this other guy. The other guy contacts him as well and says, you're not going to do shit. I'm not scared of you, blah, blah, blah. And he gives this guy an address. And he says, come at me, bro. You'll go to prison for 5 years if you send police to this address. The address he gives this guy is not his home address. The address, the address he gives him is another house near to his area. And sure enough, this third guy calls 911, tells them that he is at this address that he was given. And he says, I just shot my dad in the head and he's dead. And I've got the rest of my family cornered at gunpoint, and I've doused the house in gasoline, and I'm about to burn it down, and all this stuff. They send a bunch of cops, and they're armed to the teeth. I mean, the whole thing, like, they're going to raid the place. Mind you, these people are unsuspecting. They don't know what's going on. This guy comes to the door, and something happens at the door, and the police shoot the guy and kill him. So that's where we're at. Everybody's been kind of losing their minds about this for the last couple of days, because it's absolutely insane. I'm in a bad mood because I've been reading about this for a couple hours. I've been digging into it. I found stuff I don't think a lot of people have found about this yet, but I'm sure you're going to hear about it in the coming days. It's just a complete nightmare. It's unbelievable.
Was it the dad? Was it a kid? Like, who did they end up shooting?
The situation is weird. The guy was, I think, 28 years old. And the arrangement at the house is unclear, but it looks like a lot of members of the same family are living in this house. So his mom was apparently there. He had 2 kids. He's leaving 2 kids behind, and I think there were additional people in the house also. It first broke that one Call of Duty player got another Call of Duty player swatted. That turned out not to be the case. This guy had nothing to do with anything. It gets weirder from here because come to find out that this guy who made the call to 911, I think as soon as he found out this guy got shot and killed, I think he sort of sensed they will probably come after me and they will not give up till they find me. He reaches out to this YouTube guy, Keemstar, who we've been sort of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives the guy sort of an impromptu interview. And it is the most bizarre thing, and a lot of people haven't seen this yet because people aren't really digging that far into the thing. I just wanted to have good notes about this to talk about. So I'm going to play this. We're going to hear about 1 minute of this call, which is just insane.
This is the call?
Yeah, this is a Skype call between Keemstar and the guy who called 911 and pretended to be somebody else and got somebody killed.
Do you take any responsibility for what happened?
The argument can be made that the police would have never showed up if I didn't make the call. However, I don't believe that I'm the only guilty party involved in this whole incident, considering I was contacted and, it almost instructed to SWAT and taunted to SWAT an address. I mean, of course, if you want to, you could say that, of course, I was involved. However, other people were involved. Yeah, the call was made by me, but as far as the whole incident, you could point the finger at numerous people. You could point the finger at the cop who killed someone. You could point the finger at the guy who made the call. You could point the finger at the person who provided the address saying, oh, look, this is where I live. Go ahead and swat me. If you do, then you're going to go to prison for 5 years. So it's really, in my opinion, debatable.
So that gives you some idea. I would encourage people to look at that full video because this guy's delusional. He's detached from reality. He definitely has mental problems, and he's going to burn in hell.
Okay, so I'm just trying to unpack. I got hit with a lot
I know,
all at once.
I'm sorry, I've drug you through a lot here. I thought you knew about more of this.
No, this is real fresh to me. Even if I did know about this, just having listened to what I listened to is just purely insane. I don't really know. You can tell it's a confused kid trying to figure out a way to cover his tracks as soon as possible. He's made a grave mistake speaking openly about this so soon. Should have kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
It would have worked out a lot better for everybody. I mean, my goodness. You don't want to hear these kinds of things if you're the family that had to suffer the loss of a father, a son. You know, the fact that this is public, it's on there on a popular YouTube channel. It seems totally disrespectful. It's the only thing that can come to my head about it is it's just like insult to injury. It's cliche as that is. I mean, I can't believe that. I can't believe that kid got on there and did an interview immediately.
Yeah.
And is trying to pass the blame. No, you are mega responsible for what happened. I don't care about who's taunting you or who's egging you on to swat somebody. You did it. You had the means to do it. You carried it out.
Yeah. And
there you go.
a couple of things are abundantly clear here. For one thing, you can tell he does not believe that they're going to find him. He's gotten away with some stuff at this point. He's done one more thing, and you can tell that he got into the swing of this thing and went, this is just this harmless whatever, and I do it every once in a while, and people respect me because I can pull it off and I'm not getting caught. It's clear he's off balance, like he's nervous about this, and he understands now, maybe finally, the severity of what he's been doing. For him to sit there and go, you can't, it's not just me, you absolutely directly caused that person's death.
Yeah.
To his credit, which he deserves none, but to be accurate, the fact is that both of the players involved in the argument also had a huge hand in the person's death.
Absolutely.
There's a whole lot of focus on the officer, and he was put into that situation, the officer. You can't say anything that makes it the homeowner's fault. That guy didn't do anything wrong. But I think 3 people here need to probably spend their lives in prison, or I don't know. And we can't do it. We don't have the right laws in place, and that's why this keeps happening.
Yes, I think some serious things needs to start happening to this swatting business, and they are going to find this kid. I just have a feeling that this is going to be the one that really sends it over the edge. And
that's an important point to pick up. They did pick up the guy who made the phone call.
Okay, they did.
They've found him, and I haven't heard anything about the 2 Call of Duty players, but they definitely need to see. They should both see a jail cell.
I agree. Maybe not as much as the guy that called up and set up such a ridiculous thing.
I don't know. It's sort of on par with calling a hitman.
Yeah. No, that is a good point.
I mean, to me,
it is a good point. The only thing that I think of is what was their involvement in telling him what to do? Because you can get the cops to show up at somebody's house and have reason to make them feel like they need to enter into the home. But man, he seems to me like he took it into a whole other direction with saying, I have killed somebody. I'm going to burn the house down. I have hostages. Like,
another point.
I mean, that just seems crazy.
It's sociopathic for sure.
It's insane.
It's literally insane. It's something a sociopath would do. And if you go to, at least I know Fox News has this because I've been bouncing around from site to site for over an hour now. It's why my demeanor is not great at this moment.
Yeah.
But, Fox News does have the 911 call, and you can just hear it's just the ranting of a crazy person. Like he's not putting on an act. This guy's nuts. So and an interesting thing is that I checked Keemstar's Twitter about this stuff to try to get the latest. And his hands are not especially clean either, according to most Twitter users, and they're all saying the same thing, which to me provides some basic credibility to the claims. They say that when he was involved in pro gaming and like his early YouTube career and stuff, he got people swatted as well. He claims he himself has been swatted like 50 times. I had no idea, and I don't know if that number's accurate, but if he's been swatted himself multiple times, this is way more prominent than I ever thought.
It's not to interrupt you, but I call bullshit on him saying that he's been swatted.
I don't believe 50 times.
There's no way. If your address comes up enough, the cops are going to be like, this is retarded. This has got to stop. They'll show up, I bet, but they're going to be like, hey, ding dong, Tell your Xbox friends to calm down. We've been here once this month already.
When this was more prominent, I heard about different arrangements. Like if you're a noteworthy streamer, they were encouraging people like contact your local emergency dispatch, explain the situation, and if there is an emergency reported at your house, we're not doing anything until we've heard from you. It's tough because there's no real safe way to do this. They can't really go, well, we're not going because it could be a real emergency. But he says he's been involved in swatting incidents. People accused him of releasing people's addresses for this purpose and harassing people. I don't know how credible that is, but like I said, a lot of people were saying the same thing about this Keemstar guy. I saw a statistic that said there are like 400 swatting incidents a year still.
My goodness. What in the heck, man?
I have so many questions. This hits close to home. I'm not anybody. Nobody would bother doing this stuff to me, but my brother-in-law was a dispatcher for our town here. He recently made the police force. He's a law enforcement officer now. I've seen the 911 system, like I've seen all this stuff, and it stuns me that they can't get a handle on this from the dispatch side, because that's some pretty advanced stuff. And I got to tell you the truth, if someone in my household was killed this way, I'd probably go after the software developers, because they have this real advanced system that just sent police to my house who, maybe shot somebody or whatever the case. I'm going after somebody. Like, this is insane. It's one of these things because everybody wants to jump on the police. Well, none of this would be a problem if police didn't blah, blah, blah. But police have a job to do. And if we're putting them in, if we're causing the situation that causes them to feel threatened, that's not, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
There are no easy answers. I mean, again, no amount of reasoning or, hey, what if, hey, you have to consider the police officers. None of that makes it fair to the guy who went to his door because they said come to the door and somebody shot him in the head, That is just crazy.
I just don't even understand people. Why is your stupid internet feud that important? Why is that? And then why would you give an address for your neighbor's house? Like,
yeah, every one of those people did something horrifically cruel.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
And this is not the first time that swatting has resulted in shooting. I don't have any of the other stories, but you can go back through and you can find all sorts of police officer body cam footage of houses getting raided and stuff. It's scary shit. Like, it's nuts. They do not hold back. Like, if they think this is the case, they're busting out windows and throwing flashbangs and stuff. Like, it's a nightmare.
My goodness. And then you got to think of the cops in the situation. They're going to
they're being 100% manipulated, and then they're being blamed for it. Like, I get that, it's...
Yeah, this poor guy killed an innocent person. I'm sure he's not happy at all.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he would be, but you know what I'm saying? A figure of speech here. What is this guy going through now? The trauma that they've caused to this innocent cop. There's a lot of innocent people here harmed for a stupid dispute over a video game.
It is a byproduct of gaming, but it is directly attached to these people being just sick idiots. It's just, they are both mentally disturbed and unintelligent. There's no way getting around either of those things. You are stupid and evil, and all three of them ought to have the book thrown at them. No question in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't see how this 911 caller, I don't see how he's not going to go to prison. And in the video on YouTube that I showed a clip of, if you listen to it later, when Keemstar presses him, he says, don't you think you should go to jail for this? And he said, it wasn't my fault alone. He never lets that go throughout the end of the video, but he goes, if they come find me and they give me time, I'll serve it. So, I mean, you could tell it was sinking in with him, but I agree with you. He never should have done this. This was more of the childish look at me internet stuff. He should have got a lawyer, and he should have never said a word.
Should have never said a word.
That's not me saying like, hey, do the smart thing, try to get away with this, but like, that just shows how delusional this kid was.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, this is clearly a person with some mental disorders, some personality disorders. and it's just weaponized autism. I mean,
people made the point on Twitter, like him having fun at the expense of legitimately well-intentioned autistic people. Also not fair. Like, this guy's just an asshole. That's number one.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you've got a grade A asshole on your hands. Now he's in the police hands, and just the whole thing is such a bummer. That's that whole story, but god damn.
Yeah, that one's heavy. Here's what I hope happens to this, just to try to just add some kind of light to the end of this dark, strange, stinky tunnel.
Yeah.
I hope this is it. I hope this becomes such a story and hits so hard in the gaming community and really makes people realize that this is ignorant and calms it down for a while, if not permanently, and just kind of makes people take a big step back, that it's just like they think it's some kind of stinking joke, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I've horsed around when I was a kid, okay? You know, I've done stupid things that involve the police, but it was always something on the level of like Conan O'Brien in one of his college stunts, which were absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you've ever heard the one where he called on the road crew. And it's like, it's okay. I get it. Kids are kids. You do stupid stuff like that sometimes. I can't say that I'm not innocent of misusing the police, but this is just a whole level of murderous psychopathic status that is just like so far outside of the realm of normal thinking that I can't hardly even talk about it, because I can't. That's all I can say. I can't. It's so far outside of non-craziness that I don't know if anybody but a crazy person would be able to understand any of this. The appeal to it in the first place. Yeah. What kind of a narcissistic butthole do you have to be to want to call the cops on somebody to damage their personal property? Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Anybody that's laughed at this kind of thing, that's entertained by this, that's thought it was funny, that shared it, any swatting incident that's been involved with this at all should feel immense amounts of shame. We need to rid our community of this. Gaming gets bad raps constantly. This is not going to help. This is going to go, it's going to be a notch in a belt for government officials that have been against violent video games and different things like that. I mean, I don't know if kids realize what they're doing when this kind of a thing is glorified. Not saying that this incident is glorified, but I mean, apparently things like this were glorified enough to make this a norm, that something like that would be well praised by anybody for any reason, and should be continued at all. It's just insane, man. It's just really insane.
And you brought up if we can take away any good from this. I think if we want to take away good from this, this has to be the one where lawmakers step in and go, we've got to make this count. If somebody decides that they want to take this action, we have to make sure it hurts. We're at a point where this has happened time and time again. Sometimes people are caught, sometimes people get hurt, sometimes they don't. We've had every opportunity not to sit back and go, when are these kids going to realize this is a senseless prank? Like, you need to up the ante.
Yeah.
And if we want to talk about government intervention, now is the time. It's not about loot boxes, and it's not about what if this is marketing the wrong thing towards children. Somebody just died.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his fault.
No.
And if you want to get over good with the voters, this is what we're interested in. People my age and younger, we are the future. This is something that's problematic. It's not going away. Why don't you step up and do something about it? Take time to really understand it and stop going like, well, we're having authorities take this very seriously. No, you didn't, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's getting a mighty long prison sentence out of this, and I hope that it does exactly what you're pointing out, and that stick it to them. Really make them think twice, man. But my gosh, what do we do? What do you do to try to prevent this? Because I mean, you're just looking at, essentially, the older I get, the more years pass, you start to realize that you're just looking at the outer workings of something larger, something larger that's going on underneath it all. And what it is, how it is, what's going on, I don't really understand. It's easy to say pride. It's easy to say, schoolyard antics, but I don't think it's a satisfactory answer what is happening here? What's happening to young people that they would think that this should ever be something that's on the table for them to do to another person?
And I don't know why, but I had to point this out to somebody in an online forum who wanted to link to this story and say, hey, you online gamers. And I said, hold on. Hey, you online gamers. This is almost none of us. This is virtually no one who would ever do this. This is not, and I have to walk it back a little bit because I had no idea it happened as often as people are claiming it does. If that's even remotely true, just based on the people on Twitter who said, like, yeah, I had a cop step on my back and put a gun in my face because some idiot called him after a Call of Duty match. Like, a lot of people are saying it, but you can't look at, like, the me's and Johns of the world and go, like, you guys need to understand that this is not a game. Like, motherfucker, of course I understand that shit. Are you kidding me? You think that I spend my time after I work all day, put my kid to sleep, you think I am coming in here and calling the police? Or anyone like me? Oh, Call of Duty, mad at that guy. No, this is nutcases. These are nutcases who picked up controllers. It's nothing to do with anything except for the fact that they're mentally disabled and they're pulling this shit. It's insane. And no one's going to accomplish anything by going, hey, all you online gamers, shut up.
Yeah. To make a really cheesy joke here, this is like that kid that would unplug the Nintendo when you were winning.
Oh, yeah.
Times a million, Yeah. It's that person.
It's that inability to handle it. Yes. It's fair. That's a fair comment.
There you go. So you're looking at the kid that unplugs the Nintendo when you're winning this time, and you turn and you're like, dude, what? I was just beating you on Excite Bike. Calm down. It's okay. You won like 2 of them.
For us, it was those THQ wrestling games like WCW versus NWO and WWF No Mercy and all those old THQ games. Somebody posted that on Twitter, and I said, listen, I don't throw the word amazeballs around just casually, but those games were all like those. I think back to my preteen and teenage years, and I remember almost nothing but those games.
Yeah, if you could have a shelf and things that have saved my life, it'd be like, a picture of my parents, the Holy Bible, WCW versus NWO.
Yeah.
Because those, I'm right there with you, man. I spent a lot of time playing that, and those were good. Yank out. I never did that though, and that's why I'm not a swatter. I just don't have it in me to unplug people's controllers, but I've been a victim of that a lot while playing those games. A lot.
Multiple times I saw physical altercations over those games. Now, let me preface this by saying these things are not connected. These things are not connected, but there's one more big news story about gaming that we have to talk about, and this actually happened first, but it's hard to start with anything but that swatting shit. But that's behind us, so let's try to walk away with better thoughts on our minds.
Yes.
The World Health Organization has drafted up their I wrote down the name of this thing, but the International Compendium of Diseases, the ICD for short. Apparently their system involves new drafts of this document coming out, and then it's reviewed by John put the Sith hood up for those who can't see. They put these drafts together of mental conditions and diseases and things. I assume it goes through various peer review processes, and eventually this thing gets drafted into medical law, which is not a thing. But that's all to say that the latest draft of this International Compendium of Diseases includes gaming disorder. And I've got a link, I'll pull this up. This is something that came from Polygon also. And I think the quotes are all pretty long and full of medical speech and things like that. But the idea here is that they want to put gaming disorder on the books as something that can be treated in young people and adults. And if you see symptoms like someone is not taking care of their responsibilities and they're spending all day at the arcade or all day in front of the Xbox, you can maybe talk to your doctor to see if not playing video games is right for you. Tell me your thoughts on this, and then I'll, probably just rant belligerently.
That's what I'm trying to keep from doing, because I want to try to offer some, sound information on this.
Yeah.
Not to say that that isn't what you're going to do,
That's
but
correct.
finding the urge to not go off on this is really difficult, because this is, of course, not as horrible as the swatting thing by any means, but it makes my brain wiggle in an uncomfortable manner.
Sure.
Also. It's so clear to me that if you have a decent head on your shoulders and you know medical information, laymen can understand by using logic an okay amount of some complex stuff, even if it is medical. And I think that you have to grossly ignore the fact that if the video game is taking over that person's life that much, that it is a different psychological issue, a different issue altogether. And this bizarre need to demonize the games in this equation just doesn't compute with me, because there's clearly something else wrong with this person. Because, I mean, you take that type of stimulus away from them, what is it going to be? TV shows, movie?
Right.
What else is this going to be? He constantly want to play with a new Lego Connects and they're building models. If they're not doing their responsibilities because they want to play with Star Wars Legos all day. So now we have Star Wars Lego disorder, and
right.
It's like, where is the line going to be drawn for this? And what happened to just the tried and true, medical and mental health diagnosis that already exists, to say that this is just a person that is OCD or something, and they're extremely obsessive, and Tetris is just their release.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee that the type of person they're trying to outline in this article is not playing. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just imagine in my head this person is not playing the kinds of games that we frequently play, and they're not doing them for the reasons that we would be doing them. Something tells me they would be like, what's the weird bald-headed guy that's a game show host?
Steve Harvey?
No, not the. Oh man, I can see his face. I don't like him at all. Howie
Mandel.
Howie Mandel.
Nailed it.
Like, he's OCD, and you could tell.
Oh, yeah, he literally is, yeah.
I can imagine him having video gaming disorder, and it would be like playing Tetris over and over and over again, just so he can get the tallest, skinniest block, the Tetris, to land as many times as he could, or 80 times a day, or else his day wouldn't be complete. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm seeing in my head. And so you're dealing with a person with a different type of mental disorder in the first place. It's like, what the heck has it got to do about the game? I don't know.
No, and I think the effect you're talking about does not necessarily have to go hand in hand with an actual disorder. I think that games, in the variety that they actually come in, they allow us to exercise all kinds of brain functions. And some of them are positive. We've talked many times about the things you can perfect by practicing different hand-eye coordination exercises. My wife and I, for fun, for a long time, would play. Back when there was a better Tetris app on the iPhone, we would try the marathon mode and get our best score, and we'd send it to the other person. The other person would play until they beat it. And we actually went back and forth, and my wife, being the perfectionist that she is, it turned out to be a lot of fun because she was very good at it. To this day, she has one of the top rock band blitz scores on the planet on the piano. She's also a brilliant pianist, and she's like fourth or fifth in the world on one of the songs that she picked out that she likes. People use gaming in all kinds of different ways. Now, what I would say about this thing, you and I have discussed this in knee-jerk fashion all week, because that's how we like to deal with things in our Facebook chat. I think, to both of our credit, we don't just go crap that out into the world on social media like many other people do.
No, no, nope.
But when it comes to the World Health Organization saying there's a gaming disorder, I had to look at the context and look at the actual part of the document that they put it in, and it's next to things like gambling disorder, quote unquote alcoholism. So if you're like me and you were a student of Dr. Drew's all throughout the 90s on Loveline, he talked all the time. He's an addiction medicine specialist. He talks all the time about addiction genes, where you have a genetic predisposition to become addicted and you have that in your personality, and it manifests itself with gambling, alcohol, sex, like all kinds of stuff. Gaming, as another byproduct of this condition, is probably fair game. If they want to say gaming disorder because they want to study whether or not, part of this is people are going like, this isn't cool because you're basically taking addiction disorders and you just want to get paid to study it again as it pertains to gaming. However, if we find out that there's a difference between people who become addicted to gaming and people who are addicted to drinking, if there are important differences in how we can treat those people, fair enough. But if we're just going to use it to get it on the books and go, well, now we need to create laws and this shouldn't be in the hands of children the way it has been since the 70s, it really depends on what it's going to be after this. And is there going to have to be like an NRA for games that lobbies in its defense? Maybe.
Well,
it's hard to say right now because it may not even make it through the draft process, but it could either be used for people to just gain funding for research, or it could be used to stir up some real shit. Like, we don't know.
With gaming being the size that it is becoming, larger than the movie and music industry
combined.
Yes, that's important to note. It seems to me like the government's push and longing to enter into this arena is becoming pretty heated by, now we got the loot boxes. Now you got people calling for research about gaming disorder. Something smells stinky to me here. I've seen enough things go down in the past, and I'm afraid we might be in the infancy of Uncle Sam. Here comes your drunk uncle that you're unsure exactly what he does for the family, but somehow or another he still ends up in your house.
Stays too long and takes stuff he's not supposed to.
Yeah, he's coming up out of the basement real quick because you just put in Tomb Raider, and he's got something to say about it because he feels like he can inject himself into this situation. Yeah, that's what I'm starting to smell here. All right, it might be my tinfoil hat glistening in the sunlight, gleaming in the sunlight.
I don't think so this time. I know where you're going. I think you're correct.
I'm smelling this, man. This is stinky because it's all of a sudden, gaming. And then if you can get the older generation to be like bad, then they'll push for regulations, and then boom, the government's in there, and they'll be right next to devs, and they'll be talking about what can and can't go in there. And then, the whole time they're going, oh, this is a source of revenue for you. Okay, well, now that we know that because you were forced to tell us exactly what you're doing for no good reason, we're gonna tax you on that too while we're at it.
I think in a lot of cases it is possible that, and I wanted to talk to my wife about this before we recorded, and I didn't really get the chance because she's working a lot right now, but I am wondering how likely it is that maybe somebody somewhere went, there's a whole big new field coming where it's just ripe for funding. Could they be sincerely concerned about gaming disorder? I don't know. People have, around the world, people have sat in internet cafes and played World of Warcraft till they hit 48 hours and fell over and died. The first one of those cases was years and years ago now. Not too much has changed, except, like you say, this is starting to make money. It's starting to make big money, and we've come through certain times of uncertainty, but like things like mobile gaming and all the different platforms that are thriving now, like it's a big money thing, and it's worth looking at. Is this money inspired? Now, at the end of the day, you can't let that be the only deciding factor. Like, I think the logic behind we're studying addiction, but we also need to study gaming addiction, I think it's a little flimsy, but I'm not an expert in this. I'm not an expert in how they classify these things or how important this document even is. I honestly don't know. It could be vital. It could be something that people check casually. I don't know.
You know, to play devil's advocate a little bit, to kind of give some credence to the other side of the aisle on this, if it truly is a concern to some group of people that may or may not know more than us, or might have extra acronyms after their names, or whatever, whatever the case may be. Let's get in their heads for a second, the best we can, and think about it like this. Maybe they think because games give you a false sense of accomplishment, or can transport you to an alternate reality where you get to be this thing in an MMO that you're not in real life. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm okay. If I had to study the human mind, all right, I could maybe want to reach into that world and see what's going on. I think you could pull some fascinating data on that. It's just the way this is being framed so far makes me, as a nerd and a gamer, uncomfortable.
Sure.
Because it just seems like every corner you take, we're facing a stigma about one of our favorite hobbies, and it's sad that we don't need. I think it's completely unnecessary for gaming to be vilified to the level that it constantly is. It's just like you got people, not to go on another rant here, but you got people that are watching sporting events, which is just like, why, when you can have this awesome interactive novel, movie, miniseries that you can play out, that you can be a part of, and like Witcher, for instance, I would much rather play that than watch an entire season of the NFL, frankly. So, you know, like, why is this bad? I think the way that they're approaching these things sometimes, where it's like, why does it got to be a jab at what this is, and not so much as like, can somebody just come out and say, hey, we're fascinated by the possibility of this being good or bad? Can that suffice? Is that not enough? Why does it have to always have this like twisted knife? Like, it's just, why does it got to be pointed and pokey and it just seems mean-spirited all the time for something like, okay, you don't understand it, but yeah, why immediately? Like, it's like they just come in the room and just like smacked you in the face, and we're like, what you do is terrible, and you're like, who are you? Who let you in my house?
Right.
Where it's like,
from?
like, what is this even about? You know, it's, I don't know. And is that wrong? Am I stepping on a line there? Does it seem weird to you? Does it seem far-fetched to want some kind of accountability when this is being approached and learned about, to where, why does it got to always be negative?
This is another one of these things where, and I think we've been really good about this, when something comes up that everyone is, it's important to me that we try to find both cases, really look at both sides of this thing. And obviously in my head I'm going like, gaming is fine, it's not hurting anyone, get the hell out of here. I want that to be the result. However, it may be because I was just at a pivotal age during the 90s, but I feel like since about that time, like previous generations, especially my relatives, looked at gaming and went, boy, on 2020 they said this was dangerous, and they put out an article in the New York Times that said that this impacts the pleasure centers in the brain the same way drugs do, and
so does chocolate.
You beat me to the punch there, like, because, and that's fine. But this comes up during the screen time debate as well. Like, if you show your 2-year-old an episode of Thomas the Train, you're all going to hell. It's the science is misused because, for one thing, most of us who are talking about it are not actual scientists or researchers or whatever the case is, but people are going like, this affects you the same way drugs do, and like, well, so does playing baseball, and so does doing well on a test. A lot of the stuff that I tell people about, let's maybe not worry so much about 1 or 2 hours of screen time for a kid who's in the car, or a kid who has been working with us on learning all day and stuff like that. I would tell people the same thing. First of all, I would say let's go ahead and research it, if indeed that is the push behind this. Let's do the research, because I am confident you're going to find, and this is just based on logic, that it is perfectly healthy in moderation, as most things are.
Yeah.
because we have been informally watching this since 1972 or so. The jury's not out. We know how it impacts you. If you're healthy with it, you're fine. And if you're not, it's going to be like anything else. And
Yes.
it's going to be less bad than booze, and it's probably going to be worse than reading books. We know ultimately where we're going to end up here. So if it takes putting this down in the books, and then when Aunt Jane comes over and says, those video games are bad for the kids, like now you'll be able to say, well, actually they researched it, and if a child follows this basic chart or guide or whatever, like it's actually, they're probably going to do a little better on tests and have better coordination, and they may learn how to relate to the world better. It doesn't misalign your back and make you stupid, you know? I look forward to both possibilities. If they shut up about this, fine. If they spend the time with it and treat it appropriately and don't let politics just run rampant all over it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know what? You made an interesting point here. You said baseball affects your brain in a similar manner as drugs. I mentioned chocolate. We mentioned, reading could so wait a minute. I guess drugs are just really cool then. Is that what what we're
That's the kind of science we're being faced with these days. Yes.
Yeah,
sound like you said drugs and baseball are identical.
Yeah.
Not quite, but
so, that's what it seems like. It's like, wow, this is cooler than video games, baseball, chocolate.
But that's all that is. Like, they talk about, it's got that little rush of chemical and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's how your brain works. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
It makes me feel similar to playing chess. Really, you're beating an opponent at a game that required calculated moves. Depending on the game you're playing, gives me the exact same sensation. Are you gonna study chess having a negative effect on somebody? No. And video games are just like, a lot of them are just really complex versions of chess.
And they have whole big textbooks about the history of cultures and tribes playing games and how we use those to relate to the world and exercise different strategies and things. Like, I'm supposed to worry about this? I don't know. That's just it. Like, if you are of the genetic predisposition to become too attached to things, and to it comes with a certain combination of being somewhat irresponsible, and you're not willing to manage that tendency, and you're letting things slip. Yeah, if you're the couple who played World of Warcraft while their baby starved, yes, you deserve to go to prison. And this never should have happened, and if it wasn't World of Warcraft, it would have been meth or something else. Like, we can study this as a trend or as a problem, but you're going to find every time that it's going to trace back to that other problem. Like you said, like, you have a problem with addiction, just a general addiction problem.
Yeah.
And if it's not Xbox, look at the way we market Netflix. Oh, sign up now and binge on all 34 seasons of whatever, Literally, in the case of like SNL or something, like, oh, get on Hulu and you can see all 24 seasons of SNL and it'll take you 9,000 hours to watch. And
somebody does it all in one weekend.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to. It's like, yes, it could be done, but now we're worried about, that idea. Like, no, if you do that stuff, if you don't practice moderation in whatever you do, you're going to screw your shit up.
Yep. Give it a break. Don't hammer it to death with video games, or, and take it easy, man.
Get up and walk around and record a podcast with your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Do something productive. You and I come here each week, and the first thing we talk about is like, did you get to play some games this week? And sometimes the answer is not really.
No, I didn't play anything this week at all.
You didn't play anything this week. I didn't play anything last week. However, Kingdom New Lands. Oh my god, dude. That game is so fun. You told me about it last week. I saw it in the winter sale. I said, this isn't going to be one of those times like, oh yeah, I'm going to look that up. No, I got that, and that is a great game.
It's really well done, isn't it? It's one of the best tower defense games I've played in a while.
What I would tell people is, if you have not played Kingdom New Lands, and you hear this and you run to Steam and you go like, I got to check this out. What you do, you can buy both. There's Kingdom Classic and Kingdom New Lands. All Kingdom Classic is like the basic Flash game version of what they originally developed. Kingdom New Lands is, I think Wikipedia calls it a reworked version of the game. Definitely start with Kingdom New Lands. It's just a better composition of the game, but the whole thing is just great. The art is so cool, the gameplay is unique. It's not without its little problems, but I love it.
Yes, it's I found it kind of a little too easy, just being a little nitpicky, because once you get in a really good groove with it, you can really, really get rolling. And then sometimes it's a little hard to get going, but it doesn't matter. Regardless, it's fun. It's fun. I like looking at it. I like listening to it. I like playing it.
For anyone who doesn't know anything about the game, they call it a kingdom building simulator. You do almost nothing except collect coins and spend them on stuff, but the way it happens is really neat. You're out traveling through the forest and discovering things and hiring people to come work in your kingdom as archers and builders and stuff, and at night your kingdom has to defend itself against various scary monsters and stuff, and it's just really neat. If I could change anything about it, it would be that you, like at night, let me whip out my own bow and just try to shoot some arrows at something, try to help out. I understand people would get super elite at that and maybe sort of break the balance, but I don't care. I still want to do it.
Yeah. maybe have it to where it's on a cooldown or something like that. You know what I mean? Like once a night you can slap down 10 seconds of Legolas.
Yeah.
Legolas,
Yeah,
give me 10 seconds of Legolas or something like that. And then it's on, then you can't use it for the rest of the night or something. Something to put a boundary on that. I agree with you. That'd be great. Give your guy a little bow. Give him a little something.
And I have it on good authority that there is going to be a follow-up game in September of this year. So I'm thinking maybe something didn't happen because that's in the past.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it said September 2017. Look for the follow-up. I'm like, I don't think that went through.
Bummer. I wondered what was going on over there.
Maybe it's still on the way. I looked at the credits and saw that CodeSync, the studio, is responsible for at least large portions of the game. And I feel terrible that I haven't tried it yet. I have several friends who work there, just casually through like Twitter. We do our thing together. But God, just outstanding work to everybody involved in that game. Super fun.
That's a pretty cool one, man. I'm glad you played that and picked that up because that's a fun little game, man. I'm surprised it hasn't made it to mobile. To be honest with you, I feel like that would translate very well. Has it? Okay.
I think it's on iOS at least.
Okay, because I was going to say, I feel like it would translate really well.
Yeah, you can play the whole thing with one hand, like no problem. Just your directional keys. You can do it. Keyboard controls are great. I played it on the Steam Link. My Steam Link showed up because I bought one during the winter sale. Yeah, that's exciting. If it's on a wired connection, it works like a dream. It's great.
Good to know. I was a little concerned about it, and I'm glad I know a trusted source that has one, and so I can put it on because it'll go on sale again. I'm not hurting for anything like that right now, but
on a good, healthy network, it's no problem. $5 in shipping during the winter sale. I couldn't. I thought, like, even if this doesn't work well, that's not too bad.
You spend more than $5 at Taco Bell. You know what I mean?
I certainly do.
At least I do.
I do, and I wish I could now. I'm starving.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad we got to talk about Kingdom New Lands after this.
I saved it. Normally, we would talk about games we're playing and stuff up front, but I thought, God help us, we need something to smile about, and I think Kingdom New Lands is going to be it today.
Yes. Good. Love it. Recommend it. If you're listening to this, pick that up. Devs, good job. It's a game I like to recommend.
Got anything else? We're at about time.
No. My brain has been thoroughly emptied.
We do this for fun, and it's like, I work on notes and stuff for the show. It may not always seem like it's well organized, but I do spend time looking at it and trying to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And God, exposing yourself to this story and just the situation that feels like there's just no good answer, like that's Takes a lot out of you.
It really does. It's brutal, man. And so thoughts and prayers and everything goes out to those families and the cops and the children that are involved and the families of the perpetrators too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there's some upset moms and dads and siblings, and I'm sure there's some other innocent people harmed on the other side there too. That just, you know, the ripple effect from that is probably something that, you know, we will never be able to fathom. So
yeah,
thoughts and prayers out to all of those people. It's just super sad.
All right, again, feel free to check out the videos. We have a brand shiny new YouTube channel that we're putting content on all the time. You can find us in the normal places like SoundCloud.com, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you can find podcasts. We are there. We appreciate your ratings, reviews, sharing with a friend, interacting with us on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can find us. We love that. Let us know what you want to hear more about and how you're connecting with the stuff we're talking about, because that's why we do it. We love hanging out with you guys and chatting and furthering that dialogue. So for my friend John Schreiber and for Code Right Play, my name's Todd Mitchell. You guys keep playing, and we will talk to you next week.